Hello everybody. This is what I've always nicknamed as the Witch of Wingrave. Okay. So this is 2 summers ago. So Wingrave is, for those of you who are American watching this, you know the Salem witch trials. You've heard of the Putnams, haven't you? Well, the Putnams were originally from Wingrave. They just moved over to America, in the 1600s. So they're originally from Wingrave, but I didn't know this at the time. So I was there because I've been a healthcare assistant on and off for years. I think Americans call it something different. Care worker, however you want to put it. And so it was summer. I think must have been about August time. And I was it's the first time I'd ever gone to Wingrave. I'd never been there, and it's about half an hour from where I am. And so I was parked up in the lady's, in front of her house. And she had this little gate right in front of where my car was parked, and the gate led to the house next door. And I kept on seeing this man there. And he was just casually like leaning on a fence as if he was just chit-chatting. And it's only when I got talking to the lady I was looking after that it turned out that was her husband. Like, I described him down to a T. And she's like, oh yeah, that's my husband. And I was like, well, he's still here. Kind of replaying the same thing he did when he was alive. He certainly wasn't in any sort of bad place or nothing like that. He was quite happy where he was. So anyway, back when I was in the car, all of a sudden, the church bells started tolling. And where this lady's house was, it was right next to this church. I think it might have been a St. Mary's church. And the church bells started tolling, and it was 8 o'clock, I think. It was either 8 or 9 o'clock. I think it was 8 o'clock in the evening, and it started tolling. And I'd seen this lady before and stuff like that, and never had the church bells made me feel any sort of way. But this particular time, all of a sudden, I was just shaking with fear. The church bells were going, and all of a sudden, I had just this intense wave of fear. It's the only way I can put it. And then this spirit appeared to my left by the side of my car, but she was hiding behind a tree. And she goes, come, hide, the witch hunter's coming. The witch hunter's going to find us. We need to hide, we need to go. And she had black hair, wearing Puritan clothing, probably pre-Puritan actually. And she was like, she was just fearing. She was running for her life from this witch hunter. She dark hair, very, very pretty lass. I mean, she must have been about 17 to 19, I'd say. But she was hiding from this man. And I was like, what on earth is going on? And then she kind of disappeared. So this spirit was in a loop. So when the church bells were going that's when she went and hid from the witch hunter. So she kind of disappeared, and for a few days I was like, that's really odd, So then I researched it, and feel free to research it as well, guys. If you type in Wingrave, Wingrave, a lot of stuff will come up. It turns out that they actually, the local vicar there was a witch hunter back in the day. And I had no clue about this until I started researching it. And I've actually now got clients over at Wingrave. Very active little village, spiritually. Anyway, so she was hiding from the vicar, who was the local witch hunter at the time. And like I said, and the Putnams left this little town, Wingrave, to go over to Massachusetts. And obviously, as you know, if you do your research, I think it was one of the daughters of the Putnams was an accuser of the witches. But I think that hysteria went back to Wingrave. And apparently there's some part in the church that they've got dedicated to this witch hunter, this vicar. I'll have to, if I can find the information, I'll link it with this video in the description. But I've not been back to Wingrave since, but it haunted me for quite a long time. And like I said, I did a lot of research on it. And then when I was researching it more, there was another witch incident, if you want to call it that, when this woman was accused of witchcraft. She was dunked, survived, but the people that accused her were punished for it, or something like that anyway. So this spirit that I saw, she was running from the witch hunter. And again, bear in mind, I didn't have a clue at this time that town had any association with the witch trials, because over in England you don't hear much about it. It is very, very hush hush. You don't talk about it in schools. It's not well known like it is over in Salem. So I had no clue about this little town, except that this lady spirit that was hiding out of fear, and it was her fear I was feeling at the church bells, because it literally kind of felt like the impression she was giving me was that that's when he did his rounds. Is when the church bells were tolled, is when he would do his rounds around the village. And I mean, this female spirit, I mean, she was exceptionally pretty. She was gorgeous, which is probably why she was a bit of a target, because obviously back then, if you had men whose eyes would stray and their wives didn't like it didn't take much to be accused. But she was absolutely petrified, and you know, I kind of went with the energy and stuff like that, and she ended up moving away luckily, so she wasn't killed for being a witch, but she was hunted as one, and so she was just petrified of this witch hunter. And from what I've researched, he was a vile man. He was evil to the core. So that's what I call the Witch of Wingrave. I wanted to film this though, to be fair. I may recount it. I may do another one. I mean, there's a version of this on YouTube. I may refilm it there, or do some footage in Wingrave so people can see the place I'm talking about. Not the lady's house, but the area and the church and stuff like that. And there's also this pond there. So as you go up the lane, right opposite the church, there's this pond. And again, I got like a really horrible feeling from it. And when I did a bit of research, someone was drowned in there. I think it went unsolved from what I remember. So there's a lot of history in that town, but that's just my experience of two of the spirits I encountered there. I did go into the church and I didn't feel much there. The graveyard is more active than what the church is. And this poor girl was stuck in this loop, and she had to, I mean, and this particular summer, like I said, it was 2 summers ago, but this particular summer, it was a crazy spirit, because you do get times of the year when things get really busy spiritually. There's spirits everywhere, but then you'll get other times and there'll just be no energy there at all. But this summer, there was so much energy. I mean, even coming home when I went through a lot of villages, I was picking up stuff from each village as I was going past. Yeah, 2 summers ago. Yeah, it was very, very spiritually active, which I think is why her spirit was so active. But she was stuck in this loop, this poor girl, this loop of fear. But the trouble is, I can't go back and help her because she was on private property, so I'd have to get permission from the woman's family. The woman's now passed away, so the house gone to her son. And if they don't believe in that stuff, they're not going to let me do it. Yeah, so that's my experience of the Witch of Wingrave.